Hello and welcome to another episode of the BookBaby Spotlight podcast, your home for conversations with authors, illustrators, editors, and other industry insiders from the world of self-publishing. I'm your host, Sam Saddam, and joining me today will be one of our most prolific authors, Cleophas Jones. Dr. Jones has published over 20 books with us. Most of them feature his Doc C and Miss Livy characters. The children's books traverse a wide variety of themes, but tend to focus on Black history, including Miss Livy's Bus Boycott Movement, starring Doc C, and my Black History Month project on Harriet Tubman, starring Miss Livy. His books are part of an interesting program called URead ULead, which I'm looking forward to learning more about. Dr. Jones, how are you?
I'm fine, sir. How are you doing today?
Good. So we haven't talked much in the course of business, but I noticed your two characters, Doc C and Miss Livy, kept popping up repeatedly, and I quickly became a fan. So how did you come up with this series? Was the characters first, and then you wanted to build the series from there?
It was actually the series first, and the characters came along. The series was developed actually during my undergrad years in college, and it's something I built upon to fill a certain void in what I consider to be Black children's literature, educational literature, promoting certain themes, entrepreneurship, economic awareness, and education. And the characters, you just so happen to mention Doc C and Miss Livy, well, I have to credit that to my two children. My son is named after me, Cleophas, and first initial C. He always talks about being a doctor, so Doc C, where that character comes from, and he's still a child. And actually, a lot of my books are based on a lot of his questions and relevant topics that are happening in the world. And then Miss Livy, well, that's a story in and of itself. My daughter's middle name is Olivia, and one of my favorite icons was Dick Gregory, who named his daughter Miss, so she could never be disrespected. You have to call her name, you have to say Miss. So Miss Livy, and she's actually younger than her brother, but they're roughly about 12 months apart, and they form the premise for the main characters for the entire book series.
Yes. How old are they now?
9 and 10.
And they're big fans?
They know the books inside out. So when I tend to write a book, it's because they've come to me and with certain questions, and what I consider to be excellent questions, and I have to ponder how I'm going to respond to them in a politically correct manner so that I teach them and train them correctly. But then that tend to make that a message that can be shared with all.
So that's all part of the URead ULead program?
It's all part of the URead ULead series. I came up with that, how can I say it, that brand, URead ULead. During the course of my life and all the readings I have, and I look in my library, and anyone I read about, anyone I study, and anytime there's a certain interview done with this particular person or persons, and I'm not going to call any individuals' names, but you can't help but notice that many times if the interview is done in their home and you look at where they are, they're in their business room, or their office, in their library, and you see books, conscience books, educational books, economic books. They study, they read. And I think there's a connection between that. You read, you lead. Show me a leader, I show you a reader.
So it's all about building that leadership for the next generation?
It is definitely all about that. Empowerment. Reading is fundamental. Knowledge and awareness.
Yeah, I just wanted to touch on the structure of the books. You seem to have a lot of rhyming, repetition. That seems to be part of that. Is there any authors who you're styling this off of?
The answer to that question is going to be, I think I'm probably the author of my style. I coined, for me, what I call prosystems. Prosystems for me is a coined word, which a definition of it, the whole meaning of it is, I write in dynamic rhythm and rhyme stanzas, which incorporates a little prose and, a little poetry from time to time. And of course, as you took notice of, always rhymes, rhyming.
So no
So
credit to Dr. Seuss.
Dr. Seuss was a favorite writer of mine, and there have been several others. But I just have to say this: as a child, and I probably can speak for a lot of children, or even adults, when we listen to things or we read things, oftentimes more than not, we tend to make a connection with those things that have a certain rhythm and a certain rhyme to it. And growing up as a child, 1, 2, buckle my shoe. Okay, you remember things like simply because it rhymed. You didn't necessarily have to make all the sense in the world, but it rhymes.
Mhm.
Well, the Goose Nursery rhymes. They rhyme. These are things that, you know, and on and on and on. Listening to rap music. What do you get? Okay, the rhythmic tone and the way the lyrics seem to rhyme, or words that have similar sounds. Catchy, makes one pay attention. And I like to write and convey a meaning of what I like to think quick reads, so to speak. Not to pick on any particular literature or whatever, but I probably was never one to read a very long legendary ballad. Got boring. But if you could compress that and perhaps reformat and put another and package it a little differently and present it to me, you probably would have my attention more. And I think this is what this series tries to do. Tries to cater to those students who you want to convey messages to, and you don't want it to be long and drawn out.
So I think my favorite book that I saw, I haven't read all of them, but the best title I loved was Doxy and Ducks Ozzie Newsome into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. It struck me as a hilariously specific title. How did you come up with that one?
So now, before I respond, are you a University of Alabama fan? Is that what you're saying?
I am not. I just love the title and just throwing out something so specific. Not the College Football Hall of Fame, Pro Football.
I just had to get that out there for all my University of Alabama fans because, of course, that's where I went to school, University of Alabama. So, hey, roll Tide. Of course, that's where Ozzie Newsome went to school, University of Alabama. Roll Tide. And my son is an avid sports fan slash analysis slash statistician. Follows sports religiously. Just so happens that Mr. Newsome is a good friend of mine. Been knowing him for about 20 years.
Oh, really?
No, I take that back. Been knowing him since 1986. So it's been a little longer than 20 years. And asked him for permission to write this book and told him I was going to do it as a, how can I say it, in honor of him and his accomplishments, particularly with becoming the first, black VP of an NFL organization, and sat down and wrote that book to highlight some of his achievements in life and at the same time make it fun for my son who was telling me a little bit about him, what he knew.
So it still had that focus on the African-American history?
Yes, it had to focus on African-American history and had to focus on entrepreneurship, education, because he graduated.
That's awesome. So your most recent title was Stop Officer, Don't Shoot Me Just Because I'm Black. Why did you think this was an important book to write, and what was the response that you received from the audience?
I wrote that book well over a year ago.
Unfortunately, still relevant now.
Still relevant now, yes. And I had to stop and pause for a moment because my son watches me. He comes in and watches me watch MSNBC and then Dateline and CNN and other news fascinating. And just so happens that, there's a black atrocity in which there's, clearly social injustice and police brutality has occurred, and questions me about it. And I try and explain to him exactly what happened, and help him make sense of the tragedy. And I think he may have had some type of project at school or something he was going to discuss in history. And this time he's in the third grade. I said, we'll write about it. And I said, I'll write the book and you can share it. And something happens. And he said, can I do a video? And I said, sure. I said, why don't we do a video? Why don't we do an actual video based on the book? So what you're seeing, Sam, is an actual video that's actually out on YouTube right now. It's actually on my website that corresponds directly with the book. In other words, we took the book and brought it to life with him being the primary actor to act it
Wow.
all out. So it's really interesting, and it was something that he got a chance to share.
And so what was the response that you received from the audience on that?
It's still on YouTube right now, and it's on my Facebook right now, and it's still circulating via social media. And the response has been, how can I say it? It's been less than overwhelmingly supportive. He's been viewed several times, and I've gotten several questions about, is he an actor or what have you? And well, no, he's not. He's just my son, and I just did this with him in a professional type setting, professional type way, to enlighten the youth as to what's occurring and how they can take progressive steps in helping to curtail this type of inappropriate behavior.
Do you do a lot of those types of multimedia experiences, or is this a first?
Actually, this is maybe the second or third. The first one is I took one of the books and I actually turned it into a cartoon video, Learning Irregular Verbs with Doxy and Miss Livy. That particular book builds on correctly conjugating irregular verbs, and I get onto them all the time about your correct speech and correct writing, correct grammar. And I said, I'm going to put this in a book for you, and I'm going to make this an animated cartoon so that you'll really get the gist of what I'm trying to teach you. So, and in doing that, that's been, how can I say it? Teachers have loved it. That's for certain. Parents have loved it. So I've gotten great responses with regard to that book, and even greater response with regard to the video, which is also on my website.
So I know you've been working with us since about 2015. Do you remember how you first came across BookBaby?
Yes, I sure do remember how I came across BookBaby. The advertisement lured me when I saw the layout and how they would be able to format my children's literature books. I said, this is exactly what I want. I did a little more research and said, what if I need some type of support or help? That support or help is there in a very prompt, punctual, and professional manner. And I must commend the professional publishing department for BookBaby. Anytime I have a concern, not that I've had many, but just in publishing my books, just in providing me with the preliminary product, so I get a pretext and a preview and how it's set up and how it's laid out, I can see what's going to be produced, and then it arrives in a most timely manner. BookBaby has enabled me to publicize and market so that the entire international community can see the books through Amazon, through Barnes and Nobles, and other distributors all around the world. And the book manager part in the setup is just great too.
Glad to hear that. I can't imagine a better endorsement than the 20 plus books you've done with us now. Do Doxy and Miss Livy have more adventures to come?
There'll always be more adventures to come. Always. We're looking forward to doing some projects in the very near future. Probably be guided more so by our constituency, and always, they tend to come to me to the forefront with different ideas and different things they want me to do, and from there I just have to sit down and go in a room, in a closet, not be disturbed, get my thoughts together, and grab a pad and a pen and get to work.
Do you have any extra time during the quarantine to do that?
Being with them and taking care of their needs is a full-time job on top of everything else I have to do. So that time that I get to do that, no, I'm talking about 1, 2, 3 in the morning. That's that time. That's that quiet time. No, that doesn't happen during the day. Not by a long shot. No, absolutely not. I think that perhaps I'm honored that you've chosen to even have me for a podcast, because one of my questions is going to be, how did BookBaby come to select me for a podcast?
Oh, we're just looking through, what topics we haven't covered yet. It's 10 or so episodes in, and children's books with the themes that your titles cover, pretty perfect right now. So thank you for your time.
Yes, sir.
And we look forward to the next book.
I look forward to doing it. Thank you so much, Sam.
You have a good one.
You too. Bye-bye.
And once again, thanks to Dr. Cleophas Jones for joining me. If you're interested in checking out the Doxy and Miss Livy series, it's available at store.bookbaby.com, as well as at his website, UReadULead.com. That's the letter U, readulead.com. Please remember to like, subscribe, share, rate, follow the BookBaby Spotlight podcast on your favorite app, and hit us up if you want to get your book published. Our staff is available at info@bookbaby.com or 877-961-6878. My name is Sam Saddam, and this has been the BookBaby Spotlight.